Okay, now that we have our model class complete.
Oh, yeah.
And able to compile without blowing up our computer. It's time to put it to use. Let's go ahead and put together a very simple OpenGL application that is going to
utilize our model class.
Yeah, so that we can see the models that we're going to import with that class.
Right, and show it in a little viewport.
That's right.
So let's go ahead and start by adding an existing item, actually a few existing items. So we'll start with our SDL demo. And this is basically a stripped-down version of, well, one class that...
The same thing we've used over and over and
over. And over again. It's just a very stripped-down version. Basically, I do have navigation support, a control support. It does actually draw controls, but I don't have any controls being drawn at the moment.
You have some lights in there already.
And I also added some lights in here that kind of work, just going to illuminate our model just a little bit. Other than that, there really isn't anything else.
It is the same thing we've been slowly building throughout this entire VTM.
That's right.
We've just gone in there. In this case here, we just stripped out all the particle stuff.
Yep.
So that's it.
So let's go ahead and, well, start adding things. Let's try to compile this, and I'll just show you the kind of errors that we're going to get here. Basically, we have control errors in the linking stage.
Right.
We need to add our control CPP, our light CPP, and so on. So let's go ahead and add in all these necessary CPP files. So we have our texture, we have our model. We need our list box because we're going to have a little list box that shows various models that we've loaded.
Right.
Our light class, our engine, our control CPP. So let's go ahead and add all of these in. And the header files associated with them, so our control, GL engine, light, list box, light, and that's it. So let's add these guys in. Let me recompile, and we're going to get our SDL link errors. So let's go ahead and go to our project property settings, linker, input, and we'll simply add our SDL.lib and our SDL main.lib. And if we run this,
wow,
you'll see we just get a blank screen with, well, absolutely nothing.
Right. Now, there are some lights in the scene, but we don't have any geometry that's being illuminated.
Right.
So there.
So let's go ahead and exit out of this real quick. And so now, the first thing we need to do is add in a list box into our SDL demo. So let's come down here. Oh, well, first, let's include our list box.
Okay.
.h. And come down to here and do our list box list models. And we'll set that to null. And this is just going to hold a list of the names for our models. And
speaking of models, we definitely need to go ahead and include the model.h.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So come up to here and include model.h.
Okay, very good.
And now what we need to do is just, well, add items to our list box so that we can select them and then actually load some files. So let's go to here and do a list models equals a list box. We're casting over to a list box because we're going to use our add control to create a new list box because we really don't want to bother creating it on our own.
Right.
And positioning it and all that. I'll just set it to 200, 200. Why create a utility class and not use it?
Exactly.
And at this point, let's go ahead and add some items into here.
Even if it is a hack.
Yeah, even if it is a hack. It's a utility.
Now, you guys remember the two models that we showed you earlier inside of Maya that we exported out?
Yep. Our mech.
Yep. Here we are bringing them in.
And we're going to add another item. This is going to be our spaceship.
Of course, that's not really bringing them in. The next couple of lines will. That's just showing them in the list box.
Right, but you get the idea.
Exactly.
So we're going to add onto our models list our model. And this is located inside of data, mech, and mech.obj. So we loaded in our mech. And notice we're loading in the same order that we added into our list. So here we have our ship. Because they're not really directly associated. We're simply kind of putting them together that way. And then what we're going to do is make it so that our zoom, so we can zoom up onto our model directly. And that's really easy. We just simply do a zoom equals models list models dot get index, or just 0 since we know that's going to be the default. And get its radius, and this is where our get radius is going to come into play. And multiply that by -3. In other words, we're going to go the opposite direction, zoom out. And plus, we basically want to see 3 spaces for our model, so that's why it's radius times 3. So we're backing quite a distance from our model. So at this point, all we need to do is go to our draw scene, and right after our updating of lights, let's go ahead and enable blending, make sure that's enabled, and check to make sure our list models does not equal null. And then all we need to do is, well, draw the model that's currently selected.
Okay.
So simply do a, list models, get index, and
just draw the model.
Yeah, just draw the model.
That easy.
Very simple. So let me go ahead and try to compile this and make sure that it compiles properly.
Nice.
And it's going to take a second to load our mech, simply because, well, it's rather a large file, so it does take a second. All right, so basically we have something going on here. There's a few little bugs that we have, but this will all be
worked out. You have a model, hey?
But we have a model, and that's very, very cool. So what we need to do at this point is make it so that the spaceship... Oh, it already works. Oh, yes, I did put that in there. And what we're going to do at this point, let me go ahead and exit this out, is when you select that, notice when I selected the other one, it zoomed way out.
Exactly. So we need to just kind of keep that centered up.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is do the same thing we did in our initGL, our zoom, and put that in our update control, because we only have one control, so we know which one it's going to need updating. And so we just update our zoom. And let me just recompile this so we can get one bug fix, and then we'll worry about our materials problem. So if we run this real quick and give it another second. Here we go. It's coming. All right, so if we select this now, you notice it zooms up on it. So everything is working except for, well, it seems like our light is our materials aren't there.
I was about to say, we don't have any textures, my friend.
Yeah, this is bad. So let's exit out of this, and all we need to do is come over into our model.cpp. Something with our loading of our materials isn't working right. So let me go to my load scene here, which right here. And you'll notice that we're loading the materials right here. Let me go ahead and step to this point, just so you can see exactly what's going on here. Just give it a second. So we've got to our load materials part. And notice we're passing material file name, which is mech.mtl. But here's the problem. Remember, we got our path right here, which points us to data/mech. And when you just pass it mech.mtl, what it's going to do is actually look in the root directory where the application is.
Right.
You want to append data/mech.
Exactly.
This is an easy fix. Simply go in here and convert path over to a string and add on file name. Done. So let me go ahead and stop that. Give it another second. We're very patient people.
Yes, we are.
Sometimes. All right, so we've got something going on here.
I see textures.
Textures are good. But it's a little bit
red,
messed up. And notice everything seems way too shiny. And notice our alpha is not on our material here either. But in our spaceship, same idea, extremely dark, and we have no alpha transparency. So let me go back, exit out of this, go over into our model.h, and if you remember our material here, we have shininess, alpha, and illum.
Right.
What we need to do is inside of here, we're not even initializing these. So we totally forgot to initialize these, and so we're getting random values for all of these if they're not being set. So let me copy these, paste them over here, and just initialize them to something, logical. So this is 2.0f, the alpha is going to be 1.0 and 1.
Cool.
And actually, if I go back over to our model.cpp, let me see what's going on with our alpha transparency. Our alpha transparency, that's nice. Basically, if you look here, we have our alpha, which is getting inside of our draw object here. If transparency is less than alpha, we have our alpha. We're sure that should be working at this point. And that's going into D. So all of this is good. Okay, but the problem here is that this should be a 3. Because basically we have 0, 1, 2, and 3 for our indices, because we are 0-based.
Right.
So this needs to be switched over to a 3. Go ahead and run that. Give it another second.
So, of course, they could go through and basically set up some sort of screen that refreshes first.
Right, and then set up maybe loading models or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very easy to do. With what you know by now, that should be very simple. So at this point, check it out.
Nice.
Our model has textures. Our transparency is there. Everything's looking exactly the way we want it to.
Really good.
If we switch over to Spaceship, we actually load it in, and, well, it's all there.
Very
so
nice.
It seems like everything is working.
Since we're using a stripped out version of the particle system, what happens if you click and drag upwards? We're still locked.
Yeah.
It might be something you guys want to go in there.
I can go in and change it right now if you want. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. I mean, it's really hard.
Really tough stuff. It's what, 2 whole lines?
Yeah, I don't know if I can remove these 2 lines. Done. Okay. And let me just run this real quick. Just to give you a final look.
Yeah,
for you.
As we're going to wait around for a few minutes.
Because it does take a second to load.
Yeah, guys, please put a loading screen on your app.
So here we have this guy, and if I move up,
we zoom up on him. Isn't that just cool?
That's very cool. Awesome. So there we have our completed model loader in our OBJ viewer.
So very few mistakes. I'm really impressed with how clean the typing was.
Yes, I rock.
700 lines of code,
Yep.
800 lines of code. A lot of code. Very clean. Very pleased. Guys, you now know how to take an OBJ file and bring both the OBJ and the materials in and apply it to models inside your scene, or to actually bring that model in and show it inside your application.
And I do want to throw out one thing here quick. Your OBJ loader can be optimized a lot. There's a lot of places you could add stuff in. Basically, this is a fully featured OBJ loader that allows you to load in pretty much everything. There are other things OBJ Loader supports, but overall, it's a very complete OBJ Loader. If you have a specific need for a game or something, strip out the things you don't need.
That's right.
Speed it up a lot. And there's still, like I said, a lot of things you could speed up. But otherwise, it's a very complete OBJ Loader.
That's awesome. All right, so with this, that is going to wrap up this video. Thanks a lot.